You'll struggle to find a winger better than this guy in the modern game.
Oh God! Oh God! Vinicius Junior! That's what he done! The difference! The difference!
His back must hurt from the games he's played this season because he's been carrying the biggest team in the world so far, Real Madrid. But when it gets down to it, just how good is Vinicius Junior really? If the current season were to end now, you wouldn't put it past Vini to be crowned as the best player in the world. Hat-trick in the Champions League against Borussia Dortmund in a comeback 5-2 win. Another hat-trick versus Osasuna. Key performances along the way. Everything good that's happened to Los Blancos this season, he's played a key role in that. And he's got the world noticing too.
I think the Vinicius Junior, he was unstoppable. It doesn't matter if he played on the left side, in the middle, every single time he was on the ball, he was always a threat, and well, he capitalized the chances that he had. He could have even scored.
The hat-trick against Osasuna couldn't have come at a better time for both Vinicius and Real Madrid, off the back of some pretty poor results in La Liga and the Champions League. It was a much-needed response, and in particular, Vini seemed to be up for the challenge. Something the rest of his teammates haven't been able to do this season exactly. So what makes Vinicius Junior so good then? Well, the guy who gave him his debut back in 2018 already helped predict the future.
Para mí lo de Vinicius es sencillo, es tiempo y juego, ¿no? Tiempo porque tiene todo el tiempo por delante, tiene apenas 18 años y por supuesto que el oficio y la experiencia van haciendo a los futbolistas.
It's crazy to think how he's arguably the best left winger in the world now, but at the time he was an 18-year-old getting stick for being unable to finish chances. However, in the modern game, Vini is the perfect winger. He's combining dribbling and skill moves with goals and assists. He's already got more goal contributions for Madrid with 19 this season than games played. Bagged against the likes of Celta Vigo, Villarreal, Real Sociedad, Espanyol, and UD Las Palmas. In the Madrid derby this season, when he wasn't scoring, he was setting up his Brazilian teammate for the equaliser. These are the goals. When it comes to dribbling, Vinicius Junior has equally been as impressive. You get the idea by now. Vinicius Junior has, to a very large extent, been Real Madrid's most important player this season.
Sí, muy bien. Estoy muy feliz hoy con el mejor jugador del mundo.
Or, as Jude Bellingham crazily puts it in Spanish, the best player in the world. Still, coming back to what Santiago Solari said, and there's something about Vini that can't be taught, and that's his ability to keep going over and over again. For every time he fails to execute a skill move, I expect him to come back with the same trick harder. Operating mostly down the left side of Madrid's attack, Vini is the one with the flair, beating defenders regularly, and he'd done it against anyone too, from completely isolating Ronald Araujo here, to Julian Riverson in the Champions League, and that's another feature of his game. 2024 goals in back-to-back Champions League finals for Real Madrid. He's still only 24 and has already bagged a hat-trick against Barcelona in El Clasico, goals against city rivals Atletico Madrid, against Bayern, Liverpool, Manchester City. His list is endless. Vinicius Junior is a guy who lives for the big games. The numbers don't lie too. When it comes to dribbling, Vinicius Junior is a god. The 60 dribbles he's completed in Liga this season rank him in the 99th percentile for the most dribbles completed in the league. 24 of these 60 have been successful, ranking him in the 96th percentile as well. I could drop even more stats, but for a guy in his position and the way he plays, it's not always about the numbers. Sometimes it's the eye test, or as Karim Benzema puts it, the guy who has made him go oof more than 1,000 times. It'll be impossible to talk about Vini right now without mentioning the saga that captured the world's attention a few weeks back. Given the season he'd had in the 2023-24 campaign, for months, Vini seemed to be the outright contender for the Ballon d'Or. In fact, he was still in pole position for the award a few days before news broke out that he wasn't going to win it, and in the end, the award went to Rodri. Did Vinicius Junior deserve the Ballon d'Or? Well, given the 2023-24 season he had, it was more about the performances than the numbers. 24 goals and 11 assists in 39 games. They don't exactly scream Ballon d'Or numbers. But performances against the likes of Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund and Barcelona that season helped him get into the conversation.
We wanted to talk about the Ballon d'Or. Don't worry, I won't go to Craig or Frank first on this because I know how it is when it comes to you guys with the Ballon d'Or. A report's out that shows the margin of Rodri's win over Vini in the Ballon d'Or, and the point difference is just 41.
The topic surrounding Vinicius and the Ballon d'Or still draws a lot of debate, and rightly so. On his part though, Vinicius Junior became even more determined to perform better than he did last season. As he said, he'll do it 10 times more if he has to, which brings us back to the present day. Just how good has the guy been this season? We've seen him in light of someone first. When Real Madrid made this signing back in the summer, it was always going to be a case of seeing how these two would eventually play. They both primarily played down the same position, and credit to Vinicius Junior, he'd now become so good that even despite the hype around Mbappe's signing, Carlo Ancelotti was already stating that he'd have to find a way to fit Mbappe into the team because Vinicius was a mainstay. So far this season, it's once again safe to say Vinicius Junior has been Real Madrid's most important player. And that's saying a lot considering that they've now got Mbappe in that team. Where the French national team captain has struggled, Vinicius Junior has been flying. Heck, he's even given up taking penalties twice just for Mbappe to get on the score sheet. Around the conversation of Vinicius and Mbappe, the Brazilian has so far been on top this season. From the comeback win against Dortmund to wins against Osasuna, everything good the club has produced so far this campaign has centered around it. Mbappe, not so much. Were we really expecting a positional shift with Vini when Mbappe arrived? Well, it was always going to be interesting to see where Ancelotti would have wanted to play Mbappe in this Madrid team, and so far it's been down the middle. There is the argument that playing Mbappe in that natural left-wing position could help get the best out of him, but with the form Vinicius Junior has been in, it's safe to say Ancelotti would rather just let it flow naturally at the moment. We've talked about the goals, but just looking at them, it says something about the player. Vinicius Junior has never been a natural goalscorer. Rather, he's evolved into a guy who now steadily bags at least 20 goals in all competitions. He's done this for the last 3 seasons in a row. And that says a lot. You look at the types of goals he scores, like this one against Osasuna, or the solo stunner versus Dortmund. That's the type of player he is. You don't necessarily associate him with tap-ins, rather it's with spectacular or incredible goals like this. Now imagine a guy who's pulling off near-level type of goals every week. Honestly, Vinicius Junior has been on another level for the last 3 seasons. His evolution kicked off when Don Carlo came to the club. Under Zidane, Vini looked done. Before Mbappe arrived this summer, it could have all been very different 3 years back, and I'll tell you how in a minute. But first, you see that subscribe button to Football Historia? Click it if you haven't yet to get exclusive updates about the channel. Back to Vini and Zidane, and under the Frenchman, Zidane made it clear who his preferred option was. But from the moment Carlo Ancelotti came into the club, Vinicius evolved. That season in 2021-22, 22 goals and 20 assists in 52 games that season. 2022-23, 23 goals and 21 assists in 51 games. 24 and 11 in 39 last season. Over the 20-goal mark in the last 3 seasons, with Karim Benzema gone, he's been Madrid's most decisive player. Just going back to the whole Ballon d'Or saga again and looking closely at it, it kind of shows the possible downside to Vini's game. Even when the rumours came out, apart from Rodri winning the Euros with Spain, there were also reports that stuff like this denied Vini from winning the Ballon d'Or, and in truth, he does tend to get involved in situations like these a lot. Some of them have been for proper causes, like his fight against racism, but oftentimes getting involved in touchline spats with opposition managers, needless fights, unnecessary drama, general unsportsmanlike behaviour, and it seems like it cost him the Ballon d'Or, or this year as well. UEFA reportedly don't want him to win it on these grounds. Sadly too, it seems like we see a different Vinicius playing for Real Madrid than the one that plays for Brazil. With Real Madrid he plays with so much freedom and expression, capable of these magical moments, as Karim Benzema said, that make you go wow, off the edge of your seat stuff. With Brazil, however, Vinicius seems to be a shadow of what he's producing in the Spanish capital, watching Vinicius in the Copa America, while he did manage to get 2 in the game versus Paraguay. Other than that, he was largely disappointing, as has been the theme so far in his national team career with Brazil. This particular Copa America campaign should have been the one, because Brazil came into this one with Neymar, and all eyes were on who was going to step up and become the new star of the national team, and the odds were on Vinicius and the season he had. It ultimately affected his chance of winning the Ballon d'Or. Rodri had a more than decent season with Manchester City, but winning the Euros with Spain and the Player of the Competition award as well, it flipped the switch. I can't help but feel that if Vini had performed anywhere near what Rodri did at the Euros, it could have been different. Ultimately, that's what Vini is up against. With the current form he's shown this season and the last couple of years for Madrid, Vinicius Junior has no doubt been amongst the world's best at club level. But his form for Brazil makes it kind of difficult to rank him at the very top. Think about the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi and Neymar. All these guys didn't just perform for their respective club sides, they did it in their national team jerseys too. And that's what Vini's up against in trying to become the absolute best of the current generation. With all of this though, he's still that guy in the modern game. If there's one thing about Vinicius Junior that always gets a crowd up, it's how decisive he is. In the Champions League knockout stages last season, no one had more goals and assists than Vini's 6 in total. He lives for the big games. I mean, yeah, Real Madrid did lose 4-0 to Barcelona this season, and that 3-1 loss to AC Milan. But in both games, despite the team playing badly, if you could pick a standout from the Madrid team, it would have been Vinicius. Right now, he's the poster guy for everything good happening at the club. If you're a fullback coming up against him, you know it's over. How do you defend against a player like Vinicius? You don't. You just hope and pray he's having an off day, else it's over. Other than Kyle Walker, who he has indeed managed to get past, there isn't a fullback Vinicius has come up against. He hasn't managed to get the better of. And just look at him again. It's safe to say he's the answer to what the club's been searching for years. It's like Real Madrid's version of Barcelona's Neymar, only this time he wears white. Ranking the two of them in the same category would be too much now, considering everything Neymar has achieved in his career, but they're on the same trajectory. It's important to note that Vinicius is still only 24. He's playing like this and he hasn't hit what we can consider his prime yet, meaning there's more to come. Over the summer, rumours of a multi-million bid for Vinicius emerged that showed just how far the player had come. $560 million, a reported salary of over $1 billion. If he decided to leave Real Madrid last summer, which would have been very unlikely, that's how much he could have been going home with. It's mind-blowing just thinking about it alone. Vinicius Junior will only get better as the seasons improve, and that's saying something. In Carlo Ancelotti, Vinicius has a man who believes in him, and that, guys, is probably the biggest reason why he's become the player he is today. Could very well say he played for Brazil the same way he did for Madrid in those early years. The reason being, he played under two coaches who didn't exactly believe in his abilities, or didn't put as much faith in him. With Don Carlo, it's about protecting Vini. Remembering that incident when Vini almost started a fight with the Barcelona section of the fans in El Clasico, and that's what the relationship between the two is like. Ancelotti trusts Vinicius, wants him to focus on the football, and tries to protect him as much as possible. He won the Coach of the Year award at the Ballon d'Or, but with the rest of the team didn't attend. Why? Because they believe Vinicius not winning the award was an injustice. He could very well become the face of the club for years to come. The talk has been around Mbappe since he's arrived, but ever since the dust settled, Vini has been the one with the big performances this season, and he doesn't look like slowing down anytime soon. It's all testament to the fact that he's come a long way, from a guy who once was even hated by his teammates, to becoming the guy that was 41 votes off being voted as the best player on the planet. Vinicius Junior is a star in the making. He's still got the best of his career ahead of him, and to think if Madrid had gone their way in 2022, he could have been playing in the French Liga instead. Yeah, Real Madrid was so crazy about Mbappe back then that there were even talks about involving Vinicius plus a transfer fee and a swap deal that would see Mbappe move the other way. In the summer, it seemed like they won. Mbappe signed for Madrid, and as a plus was added firepower to an attack that also had Vinicius in it. But as the season has progressed though, it's safe to say it hasn't exactly turned out the way they thought it would. Mbappe has been off for his new club. Want to find out how bad he's been this season? Well, it's all in the next video.